Ever since I pissed off the YouTube algorithm by having my gun in my hands, not many people get notifications when I go live anymore. I think it was the same people on Facebook, honestly. So I'm here tier 1. This is actually the FA that I was tuning. I think my last live stream, I think, was tuning this FA, and it was knocking like crazy and stuff. So I told the guy, hey, you should probably get a Walnut blast tank and plugs. And he did, and came and brought it back, and the differences are pretty dramatic. It's still an FA, right? It's not going to make it not an FA, which means that they're obviously very prone to knock. But with the FA, it's rare they ever actually knock. It's just a super sensitive system. So, anyways, it picked up like almost 30 wheel. Can't bitch about that. Still dropping it off pretty hard up top, trying to get that ironed out. But made quite a bit of horsepower. And after I do a few more pulls, I'll show you guys some before and after so you get an idea of the difference that it made. Right now, I'm just waiting for the O2 sensor to wake up before I do a pull. Also, I really wish I had done it, but I didn't stream tuning the R35 GTR with the Omega 12 turbos. Part of me is glad that I didn't, and part of me wishes I did. So I wish I did so I could have shared it with you. But I'm glad that I didn't because it was a fucking nightmare. Apparently there was something wrong with Race ROM on ECU Tech, and just for 2 days it plagued. I worked on it for 4 days. I worked on that GTR for 4 days. 4 days. And it wasn't until the very last day that I figured out what the hell was going on with it. The Race ROM version 8.1 was not compatible with the stuff that we had going on with it. What's up, dog?
You ever done a Brembo swap on a FAWX?
FAWX Brembo swap. Should be plug and play.
Should be. Mm-hmm. So the hats and everything for the e-brake shoes and everything. I'm not worried about the front, it's the back.
Oh, no, I think the e-brake diameters might be different. You gotta check that one. But I spent for the front. I don't recall what the rear is. But, I mean, you can measure it really quick.
Huh?
You can measure the diameter really quick.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering what rotors I need to order. Do I order VA rotors? Do I order GD rotors? I don't know.
Well, have you compared the rotors yet?
I don't have any.
Well, I mean, you have an FAWX right here. You can measure the shoe diameter.
Well, I have an FAWX on the lift.
And you have GR STIs in the parking lot.
Yes.
So you can measure the shoe diameter there and see.
Good.
Yeah. And so that tells you the e-brake stuff, right? If that's going to be the right diameter or not. And then overall brake diameter, I don't know what the rotor diameter is on them. I thought they were really close.
Just stock wheels clear?
I believe so.
WX wheels?
I think so. I don't recall. I know that we did them on the car at Turning Concepts, but I don't recall if they had front wheels on there or not then. Back when the 15, just came out and everything, where we drew all the stuff on it. So okay. I know they put Brembos on it, but I don't recall what wheels.
Yeah, Nick was thinking they might use all the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's pretty freaking close. I think everything was really darn close.
Yeah. He said he thinks that they use the same knuckles and everything.
Yeah, it's all 5x114 and all that stuff. So they definitely made it a little more plug and play for that reason. But I don't recall the parking brake stuff. Sorry.
No, it's all good. I was just curious.
Most simple.
I asked Nick, he hadn't done it, so I was like, well.
Are we doing this one here? Or I say we, are you guys doing it? Oh, did she bring brakes?
Yeah, it looks like she has like JDM black ones. Or USDM black ones.
I was going to say, yeah, probably USDM ones. Because it's going to have to be GR fitment or VA fitment. Because GD was wrong offset.
Is it?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be the GR fitment.
She might even have the wrong caliper.
Do the rear ones have the diamond, or are they just round little pucks?
The what?
Are the rear ones, are they the diamond-shaped ones, or are they the little puck, like it's got around?
For the shoe?
For the rear caliper. So look on the end where it says Brembo.
I think they're round.
Right. If they're round, that's typically the GD fitment. If they're like little diamond shapes, then they're usually the GR fitment.
Okay.
Just take a peek. But I believe the rear is the same offset. It's only the front that's different offset, or is it vice versa? I forget.
What are we doing for gaskets for your engines and seals? Do you want any new gasket kits for all of those engines?
Where it seems reasonable, yeah.
Okay. So like crush gaskets for sure.
Right.
Copper gaskets, water pump, those sort of things.
Right.
Like valve cover O-rings and spark tube seals and stuff.
Those are pretty new on that engine.
Pretty new.
Yeah, those are pretty new.
I could probably clean those up.
Yeah.
And I think that those would be good.
Yeah.
Any of the crushables I won't reuse.
Right. Yeah. That'd be great.
And gaskets, obviously. Shit
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah. That'd be good. Obviously, I need to find out what kind of gaskets are on the other engine when we get that one torn apart. Because I don't know what gaskets it has or what it's supposed to have. So, just let me know, and I'll get those coming if they're Athenas or if they're Athenas or Coopers or JEs or
Yeah.
I don't know what was in the red one on the IAG block. So,
We'll take a look and see.
Okay.
I would guess whatever IAG would recommend. That's what most people seem to do. But
yeah, I mean it was built like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So the things have changed a little bit since then, and it looks like a real thick gasket when it was bolted to the head. But you know, it was like a big gasket.
Try to see if I can identify it.
Did you pop those heads off yet?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm just stripping the last bits off of the RS sort of block, and then I'm going to clean up all the stuff, and then I'll get to that engine.
When you do, be sure to admire the exhaust porting
On the red engine. Okay.
The porting job there is
Pretty tits.
fucking mint. It's really good. I almost want to send all my people to those butchers. I mean, machine shop to have them ported. It's fucking mint.
Okay.
So be sure to take a look at it.
Okay.
and definitely check out how smooth it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the transitions are fucking just perfect.
Excited.
Yeah, just go plunge a finger in the exhaust a couple times and get a feel for it. Yeah. Yeah, it's good. All right, sorry about that. All right, so we're gonna pull on this FA here. So much it knocks. Hopefully not too much. Okay, so question: what do you guys want to see, the tack or the tuning screen? What do you guys want to see? Oh shit! I got lots of messages. Blast those nuts. Yes. Hey James, it's got rear dust shields and run 08 STI rotors. Thank you. Thank you. Cut the rear dust shields. That makes sense. Or replace them with STI dust shields, I would assume. But you just said rotors, so I assume that the brake pad diameter is the same. Going by that. Let's see. So do you guys want to see the tack? The computer screen? What do you want to see during the poll? You want to watch the knot count just climb through the roof, or what do you want? I know you don't want to see my face. I don't know how my wife sees my face. I guess. I'm not 24 anymore. I mean, when I was 24, I was a dick magnet. But not these days. Oh, good. Viewership jumped just as I said something stupid as fuck like that. You want to see a rod? I don't think this is that kind of stream. Man, if I had $1 every time a guy said that to me. This isn't my OnlyFans page. Alright. Oh, we're just going to do tack thing because these are going to hold. So you can hold on trying to drive this car on the Dino here. It did this weird thing where it shifts to the right during the pull. Right? Yeah. Can't handle a gun live stream. This content has been removed. watch this pig knock. Let's see what we got. I only watched so many things at once. This time I had to watch the car, make sure it stayed on the freaking dyno. Alright, I got one at tipping. Oh, I got one feedback at 52. And that is good. But you'll see the timing is really low to the top end here. That's because of this. This intake air temp. Just screaming up. Just fucking screaming up. And it's actually weird. Even for the stock intercooler, this seems like an excessive amount of heat going into that thing. Makes me wonder if he's got a turbo issue or a boost leak somewhere or something, because that is just a ton of heat. Whiskey duty cycle, however, is planted around 57, which is near where I have the max set, but you can see turbodynamics are 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, except for that spot right there when I first tipped in. But turbodynamics are pretty much right in, a little 2 right there. So that's good, it's not too bad. Boost tipped the 20 mark. I didn't want to run 20 pounds of boost on it, but it just won't make any power otherwise. And that's probably also a source of the heat that's going into this intercooler here. See it. But if I lower the boost and raise the timing, it just takes it back out. And then the power drops and everything else. So it's kind of a crappy situation. It wants the boost to make any power whatsoever. And it takes timing to do it usually. But it won't take that either. So I'm not sure really. But we'll see now it's only one 0.7 count. Before the Walnut blast, this thing was throwing fine knocks and feedbacks just all the way down, especially like 5,200 RPM. Big counts would come in, and it was like 2 or 3 degrees of timing. It was only 17 pounds of boost. It had 11 2 AFRs. Like it was extremely safe in throwing knot counts. Now, does that mean that they were knot counts? Maybe. I mean, they possibly could have been, because the Walnut blast and the spark plug change made a big difference. Now here I am with 18, 19 pounds of boost, the same AFR, a couple more degrees of timing, and only occasionally tosses one feedback on it. So there's definitely a difference going on. And it's a hotter date save too. But everything else is pretty much the same. Not that that fucking matters, because dynos are bullshit anyways. They're just tools, and you should keep that in mind, that numbers don't matter on a dyno. But that being said, I'm still going to show you the difference, because that's what people want to see, right? Alright. Yeah, I guess set this down so I can bring up all the stuff. I use both hands to use this keyboard. It's a remote keyboard. And you got to pull the button down and do stuff. So give me 1 second. And we'll set this right now. Oh man, look at that economy. Ripping it. Oh, I gotta get out. My vision's going. I can't read that far away. All right. This is kind of where we're at. This is interesting, right? It goes boop and flattens out. Both before and after. You know, 20-something peak. There's a bunch in the mid-range though. 25, 30 here for the mid-range. It woke up quite a bit. It feels better, knocks less. I should AFR up too. Let's see if it's richer now or leaner now. I forget what I did with it. About the same. I just have a large fuel up top now. I've been adding fuel on the top end, trying to calm down, or trying to remove heat from the engine with extra fuel, right? So that's something that I think I talk about in a stream sometimes. Let me just drop my sunglasses so you can think real quick. So let's talk about something real quick. Let's talk about heat management in the combustion chamber. So when I have an 11.5 AFR, what does that mean? It means I have excess fuel. Now, does having excess fuel make power, right? Like, on its own, no. Technically, if the engine will say it was NA and we were within the knock limit and everything else, you would make less power. You'd probably make, 5 to 10% more power, anywhere from 12.3 to 13.2 AFRs on pump gas versus 11.5. But on a turbo car, we have a unique requirement. And that requirement is to get heat out of the engine, out of the chamber. A turbocharged car has a very high power density. And by power density, I mean horsepower per cubic inch. And when you have a high horsepower density, you have more BTUs in a small area. So what that means is that the amount of heat that small area has to dissipate goes up, right? The energy is created in the cylinder. You peak a bunch out the tailpipe, but a bunch of that goes into the cylinder walls, the piston, the valves, the chambers, right? All that stuff takes a portion of the BTUs that are created by combustion. And the more I have in the chamber, the more that it gets deposited into all of those surrounding parts. The oil system has to take some away. The cooling system has to take it away. And it's very easy for those things to heat up very quickly in something when you have that many BTUs in the cylinder. So how do we combat that? Well, we add extra fuel. Fuel comes in, it's a mass, it's far more dense than air, and it comes in, it absorbs some of that heat, and it takes up the tailpipe. And you see it as unburnt fuel, you see the black soot. Sometimes on some cars, like on a 4B11, Evo 10, those things just billow black smoke. And if they're not billowing black smoke, they're probably running lean and knocking like crazy. Well, actually, I say that. What's funny is that even at mid 12 AFRs, they will still billow black smoke. Just the way those things are put together with their cam timing that they want, all kinds of weird shit. So they also want heat taken out of the engine. Like every turbocharged car wants heat taken out. And that's why we run richer AFRs. Take that heat, get it out. Don't let it cause knock or detonation the next time around, the next combustion event. We don't want that heat staying in there. We want to take it out. Otherwise, the air and fuel will combust or spontaneously combust at some point around peak torque the next time around. And by next time, I mean next time the piston comes up for the combustion event. So that being said, when I use a fuel like ethanol, people talk about ethanol. Oh, ethanol cools so much better than gasoline. I got people that say it cools in the airstream really well. And that one I find a little peculiar because ethanol does not vaporize. It is not as volatile as gasoline. So why would it cool more in the airstream if it's not trying to vaporize itself, right? As good as gasoline. Now, it does have, what am I trying to say? So with a lower read vapor pressure, if I take a volume of gasoline and I put it into a fixed volume container and I measure the pressure in that container at a specific temperature, that gives you a vapor pressure. That means that so much of that's going to turn to vapor, it's going to create a pressure, and that's where it's going to stop. It's going to stabilize. Ethanol is a lot lower. Well, that means two things. One, that means that it takes more energy to vaporize the ethanol. So some would say, well, if I have the ethanol in there, it's going to absorb more heat before it vaporizes. And what's called the latent heat of vaporization is basically how much heat it takes to cause that vaporization act to occur, and then by doing so, you draw that out. So there's a little bit associated with that, but also since it is less volatile, it's not like it's trying to evaporate all. You got to intentionally put heat into it. So I'm not totally convinced that there's a whole lot of cooling in the airstream. But what it does do is cool in the cylinder more. I immediately have 30% more mass available to absorb heat. When I go from 12.3 to 11.5, I'm only adding a couple percent more fuel to get there. And if my brain was quick, I could do the math and tell you how much that is, but it's not, so I can't. But it's only a few percent. Now, when I run ethanol, I got to run 28 to 40% more ethanol than I do gasoline. So now what that means, I have 28 to 40% more mass going into that cylinder to interact with all the surfaces to capture and carry heat. And even if the RVP is lower on ethanol, even if it's not trying to absorb as much, or it's not, actively trying to vaporize as easily as gasoline is, it's not a difference of 40%, right? It's a small difference. It's enough to cause some cold start issues, in the winter. But when you get all that extra mass in there and all that fuel, all those molecules in proximity, they suck a lot of heat out of the chamber. And for that reason, I don't have to add as much ethanol to keep the cylinder cool as I do with gasoline. Now, most people tune their gasoline on a 14.7 gasoline scale, and that isn't even technically 100% correct, because most gasoline is E10 and it's not 14.7, it's 14.13. But that being said, most of us have been tuning gasoline scale for so long, we're used to that one lambda being 14.7, and everything that in our head is all referenced off of that. Like when I build an engine, I'm thinking about piston to wall clearances, and I'm still doing it in thou. I'm thinking of rod clearances, I'm still doing it in thousandths of an inch, where a lot of people have already converted into millimeters or whatever, right? So I've been programmed for so long, it's hard to switch. It takes some practice. And so most people maintain their stuff on a gasoline scale. So when they go to ethanol and they tune on a gasoline scale, they don't still go for the 11.2, 11.5, 10.8, the ones like they would on pump gas. They bump that up some, okay? Now, what's really the AFR? It's somewhere in the 9s. I'm sorry, that's incorrect. That's even wrong. It's somewhere in the 7s most likely. But we're not looking at it in the 7s because we're in blends of ethanol. So if it was like E75, stoichiometric ratio on E75 is going to be somewhere around like 9.8 or 10 something, something like that. And so it's difficult to try and go by this sliding scale. So you can choose to do it in just lambda. And if I do it in lambda, I like to do like an 8.5 lambda, which is relatively lean with ethanol. But on pump gas, I'm going to be like a 7.8 lambda or something like that. So I run it leaner on ethanol than I would on pump gas, not just because I have extra octane, which is obviously a key benefit of having ethanol, but also because all that extra mass is doing its job in removing heat from the cylinder. I don't have to add the extra, 8% of fuel that I would have to add in gasoline to make it cool. I got 30% more mass already going into the cylinder. There's no need to run it extra rich with ethanol because I already have 30% more mass. I hope that makes sense. Now that being said, there's still, so that 30% mass is going towards the next combustion event. So you still need a little extra to help carry away excess heat, but that mass has to absorb heat from the chamber for it to combust. Has to absorb heat. It's all really, really close. So I hope you understand what I'm trying to put out there is that you don't need to run it crazy rich in ethanol. You can run it leaner, and the reason you can run it leaner is not just the octane, it's the mass. I got 30%-ish or so going into the cylinder over what I would if it was pump gas, and so I have those two key benefits going on. So does it cool more? Yes, it does cool more, but does it cool more because it's alcohol? Or does it cool more because there's 30% more going in the cylinders? Personally, I think it's because there's 30% more going in the cylinders. Yeah, I hope that was somewhat educational or / entertaining, if you're curious about that. I need to review that log and see what we got going on. I forgot to put my laptop in, so it's probably going to be dead already like really soon. I set the flash and walked away. So I'd like to get that intake air temp down, but I don't know how to do it without watering down the intercooler. I'm curious if this intercooler is dirty. The car's got 75,000 miles on it. It needs a Walnut blast. It's got a ton of bugs on the front of the car, so I'm assuming the intercooler is probably pretty blasted with dirt. It probably just needs to have the intercooler cleaned. So I should just get a pressure washer and spray the shit out of it, right? Probably not. That's how you get a bunch of fold over fins. And honestly, I'm gonna look at his. Let's look at his real quick. In 1 second, we're gonna do that. I'm just gonna change something that I was thinking of before we do that and start a flash. And then we are going to go look and see if his intercooler has been already folded over by a pressure washer, or if it's just dirty as shit, or if it's just because it's fucking hot today. Let's find out. Okay. Flash is happening. Hood is popped with my shoes. Black shoes with white socks. That's the only way to do it. That's how you know you're a real player. Well, it's not wrecked, but it ain't clean. It doesn't have a ton of fins folded over. It's got some. It's got some rocks in it, some bugs in it. But there's kind of a layer of gunk in here. It is kind of dirty. But it's not fucked. So I'm gonna spray it down a little bit. Honestly, I'm gonna get some clean air, some simple green on that. I don't want to use purple power. If purple power etches the fuck out of aluminum, so don't use that. That will etch aluminum like crazy. But I do want some simple green, and I had a bottle in here. We had a fire on Thursday. I think it was Wednesday, and we spent 4 hours cleaning the dyno underneath all the grass and leaves, dirt. I think it's already dirty. All the footprints. It's already dirty as shit. But we cleaned the hell out of it. It was looking like a brand new dyno on Friday for the GTR, or Thursday and Friday for the GTR. Ew, I didn't empty that bucket out. Gross. I should do that. Alright, I'm gonna find the fucking silver green, and then I'm gonna rinse out this is the backup fire extinguisher. The one I used is over there. Oh, it's fucking right there in front of me. I'm just blind! Oh yeah, looks like I used all of it. Rotate device, it tells me. Oh, maybe. There's gotta be some in there. It's in there somewhere. Alright. Okay, that's not gonna work. This one? This one. There we go. Alright, there we go. Just a little silver green and do a little rinse on it. And then see how it behaves after that. Come on, baby. Spray! Silver green's great for washing your car. It doesn't etch aluminum. Helps break down grease and shit. Silver green's really good. If the plastic doesn't care, it doesn't get angry at the plastic. This is not working though. This is an inadequate supply of simple green. There we go. And then I'll get a little sprayer, low pressure water sprayer, and spray some water in there. And then I'll look on the dyno afterwards. See how much mud came out of it. If I just need more fucking simple green, give it to me. Although it is simple green's concentrate, right? So I can technically add a little water to it. What you doing DomTune? I cleaned the used car. It's cool. I do have some engine degreaser over there I could use. It's not. Hey, dude, how's it going? It's not. It's not purple power, so it's not going to etch everything like crazy. You see more simple green laying around? I see ass wax at purple power. Yeah, I'm not trying to etch the aluminum though. There we go. That's a little bit of water. Da, 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 da. What we got? I got a message coming in. More times more power, absolutely. Ton of salt in it. Don't use. Oh, wait, that's good. Come on. I'm not pouring it on the fucking iron. This is aluminum. It etches a lot less than fucking pert power does, that's for sure. I wouldn't clean your paint with it when I wash the car. Shit, I think the hard water would be worse than anything. Hard water on a heat exchanger sucks. Hey, Lane.
Yes, sir.
Where did I find the water sprayer? Was that his?
Yeah.
That we set up the front mount with? Oh, so he took it then. There's what? Yeah. That's why I put some Civil Grounds intercooler. I want to wash it off just to get the grime out of it a little bit. Okay. All right. Well, I gotta wash it off first. Hello. How you doing? So Brady, you said it has salt, or Bradley? Somebody said that. Do you mean sodium? I don't know if it has sodium chloride in it. That seems a little weird. It had literal salt in it, but if you mean it has salts, some sort of like a sodium. I don't know what would it have in it. Benzoate or something, or something like that. Makes me look at it. For full disclosure of ingredients, go to silvergreen.com, save your choice. Or by request, 800-228-0709. This product does not contain phosphates. Oh, excellent. That's good. I was super worried about phosphates. I don't know if it has like PCBs. There you go. That's what we got to worry about, right? Not polluting the environment with PCBs. I use it. Or maybe some Chinese mercury. We want some Chinese mercury in this. Although I hear that mercury is powerful. And they say lean is mean. I think it's the same thing for mercury, right? All right, well, that's how I'm going to rinse it. So that's what I got. And then I got a fan to blow through the rest of it. Shroud is intact. Shroud is intact. That is intact. That's all in place. Means it has adequate airflow to it. I did forget to put my temperature probe in there. That's a bad dumb moment there. You use it to clean coils on AC. 22B is sexy. The car's dirty, can't get tuned, right? Exactly. You know, the 22B, that's a funny thing, really. Like, the body's pretty cool. You know, like, the wide body is pretty neat. I'm not 100% in love with the way they did it. But it is still pretty nice. The power, obviously, isn't fucking there. And when you spend six figures on a car, you don't spend six figures on a 22B because it's fast. Because it isn't. Let's just be honest. It's relatively quick, but by today's standards, you know, a fucking Corolla can get around for its money by today's standards. So you don't buy something like that because you want a fast car for six figures. Because there isn't a car that you could buy for six figures that's slower. You buy that car because you have a soft spot for Subaru Rally Heritage and or for Japanese cars and that kind of stuff. You do it for the nostalgia, or maybe you do it because you think it's a good investment and the value of that car is going to go up. In this case, it probably is. This guy's probably going to make money on this car as long as he doesn't fuck it up too bad. He'll probably make a lot of money in fucking 5 years. He could probably sell it. You know what I mean? But it's hard for us because it's got a coolant leak, right? And we're sitting here going, okay, well, it's got a coolant leak. The hose is nearly impossible to come by for it because it was only available for that model for some fucking reason. It wasn't available in the U.S. ever. So what do? We put a non-OEM hose clamp on this thing, a non-OEM hose. Now what? Is it depreciated? Right? Like, it's a shitty spot to be in. We just want to make it work right and be better, and a better clamp would do the job. And yet, the clamp's no longer factory. Just put a better clamp on it. If we put a worm drive on it, you know, is it a factory worm drive clamp? No, it's not. So then what? And that's kind of a shitty spot to be in. And that's one reason why, if you buy those cars, you just park it. You know, you roll the tires on it every week or something and don't rack miles up on it, and you let it become a collector's item beyond what it already is. But buying it to drive it, that doesn't make sense to me. But, you know, it's his car, his money, do whatever the fuck he wants with it. He's going to pay attention to anything I say, because here I am, some dude just tuning cars. I don't have a big mansion, nothing. So whatever he's doing that made him afford 6 figures on a car, he's clearly doing it right. Clearly. Oh, look at that. Let's see the camera. I forgot to set 3 cameras. So, he's clearly doing it right, and I can't criticize that at all. He has the car that, you know, millions of people potentially pine for, you know, that want. So, it's good for him. Plain and simple. Good for him. All right. Pull here. Let's see how she does. This car likes to walk around on me. Said the boost was late on that one for some reason. Power was higher, but boost was late. Let's look at the log real quick. Let's see what we got. Surprised that pretty much any 90-inch 2-liter isn't the same. Oh, I was going to say correctly. It's bored out, closed deck 2-liter. No, it's not a bored out 2-liter. It's the 2.2-liter block that they used in like the 93 Legacy, the 2.2. It's a larger bore 2-liter, or 2.2, larger than the 2-liter, and it's still knocked again. This one feedbacked on me. Oh, really low RPM. I think that's just bad luck. There's no reason why it should be knocking at 3 degrees of timing at 4,800 RPM with 11.2 AFRs. Maybe it's a little low. Maybe it wants 1 degree instead of 2. But if it was 5,000 RPM pulling a knock on that, then Alright. Boost actually was a little higher that round. Later, but higher. That's peculiar. Let's just do another one. Power went up though. Let's see. Put the phone down again 1 second. Let's zoomed out. Let's try and get in there. Let's make the power up here, because now I'm showing the AFR and torque. There's a little spike right here when the boost came in all of a sudden. It came in late. That's very not typical of it. What the fuck is this? A little tail up here at the end. think it's a bum run. You guys didn't see that shit. Sorry. There you go. I think it is a bad run. Try again. See if we get a repeat. Repeat offenders. What's this one do? What's this one show? Hopper Gallon, Tuesdays. Ooh. Boost gauge. Reset the peak. The best one yet. To run a little tail on it though. Runs a little plateau for some reason. Okay, where the plateau's from. Right there. It did wiggle on the dyno, but that plateau's kind of hard. The loose spiked a smidge from the wastegate control system. Had something to say about it. Brought it back down. It's got a little wiggle down there from a loose spike I got to take care of. The rest is looking pretty good. I have to figure out why it's dropping in 65 so hard, only to flatten out to 7. So whatever it needs something at 65. Something that's getting at 7, it's not getting at 65. Essentially, what's going on there. So I'm going to bump that up some, and just try and take care of the spike. You see here now we're at 287.5. Much cleaner run. I still have a feedback knock event happening at 52 like last time. Really annoying. Yeah, it'd be weird. Like, you can't bore a 2-liter at the 2.2. It's there's not enough material in the cylinder wall. The difference is a lot. Like, it goes from 90. What's it? I forget what the fucking 2-liter bore is. 2.3. Shit, I forgot. But the 2.2 is 98 millimeters. Like, you're taking a lot of freaking material out to get to a 2.2, and you're not getting that out of a 2-liter block. It is absolutely a 2.2-liter block. The block even says 2.2 on it. So, you know, unfortunately, people that are ignorant as fuck write a lot of these things. Like, oh, it's just bored out. That's what it is. It's bored out. You know, it's bigger, and you know, it has a bigger bore than a 2-liter, sure, but yeah, it's a 2.2 block. All right, so still here, look here, 5,500 RPM, 4 degrees of timing. And I'm getting an event. 4 fucking degrees. That's like nothing. But it is 120 degrees air temperature coming in. Only 17 pounds of boost. So it's not great, but it is better than it was by a long shot. Before, it was just fucking not fine learn and feedback for days up here at the top end. It would just start yanking timing out faster than you can imagine. But let's see, 65, what do we got? 65's got 6 degrees of timing, 7,000 as, looks like it's top 66, 15 degrees of timing. So that's what's going on. Over 65, the timing's ramping up very quickly. And that timing ramp is what's keeping the power climbing, or flatline, I should say, at 7. Whereas 65, it's only 7 degrees because I have this knock event way up here. That was probably fucking bullshit anyways. So really what it wants is it wants timing at 65. To help get that power to come back up and not be flat. But I gotta address this down here. So I have to pull time in the mid-range some more and make it really, really conservative mid-range. Just make it feel pretty flat. It'll knock the torque down a bunch. But if I do that and then throw much time in the top end, it might not be so hot that it knocks that crazy. And that is the FA. Just call up Mitaka Subaru and ask them if they have any hoses and clamps. Just gonna need a translator. Oh, fuck. I mean, I need like a Babelfish or a Google Translator or something. I have, you know, I really wanted to learn Japanese at one point. I was big time into that. I bought myself a Rosetta Stone. and a bunch of shit, software to learn Japanese. And then I just never did it. Like, 95% of the people that buy the Rosetta Stone shit, I did nothing with it. So, anyways, all right, so I'm adding timing here to 64. I'm lowering it to the entire mid-range because there's that big ramp near 7, but that's what the engine wants up there. So I need to add some timing here. So I'm going to get that ramp out, or that flat spot out some. And it's just going to be a very sudden timing ramp just for the power curve to look somewhat normal, really. I'm going to lower the... Oh, someone's here. What's up,
It's a
Don?
hard no on the wheels.
What do you mean?
They do not fit.
Oh, they don't fit?
They contact by a solid 3/8 of an inch.
Oh, really? Big
Yeah.
time. Does she have wheels?
No. I just put her front brakes on.
Hold on, I'm thinking. Oh, you know what? We put BBSs on the car. We did. We have BBSs on the car. I have BBSs here. If you want to just slide them on real quick and make sure everything's still good.
Yeah. I think I have like an AutoZone spacer that might give me just for rolling it in and out.
Mm-hmm.
But,
You can throw my snows on it.
or
rolling it in and
I'll
out.
do that.
They're right there. They're 5114 sub BBSs. It'll look silly because they're a 53 offset. It'll look like it's wearing a little skirt, body sticking out, But
Kylie might like that.
maybe she's a girl. But yeah, if you want to throw BBS on there for rolling it out, so you got the stuff done, and well, obviously make sure she wants wheels.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm sure she
purchased
does.
wheels.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Allegedly. She
Uh-huh.
said she did, but they never showed up. Her tires showed up.
Oh, that sucks. Who's she buying from?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it's all alleged. She just said she did.
Oh, okay.
And Chase was like, just have them shipped here with her mom.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bummer.
They have never showed. And this was like 6 months ago.
Oh, okay. That's a bummer. Hopefully she gets her wheels or got them and just bring them by.
No, I was hoping they'd show up.
Yeah, make your job easier.
I'm just going off what I was told. So.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
All right, buddy.
I just want to let you know.
Yep, appreciate it.
Clear. Rotors and calipers obviously work. Brake line works.
That all works?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, for VA rotors. Just the wheel does not clear. These
Okay.
ones might, but the 15 ones do not.
Oh, because it's the 18.
So it might be a 16 plus scenario. But I don't know.
That's Lane. I like Lane. Lane's a good guy. He's got a big heart. Works really hard. He still has passion. He still has curiosity. And he's even a little creative. I like that. Those are the things I look for in coworkers. If Tier 1 was mine, I would keep him employed. I mean, Tier 1's keep employed. I am largely responsible for him being hired in the first place. But that being said, if I had my own shop, I'd employ him. He's gonna do my my compound turbo kit for my car. That's gonna be pretty sweet. Looking forward to us spending more time doing that. Maybe when I get back from all these trips I got planned. Definitely over the winter. Spend more time building shit over the winter. That'll be nice. Of course, there's a lot of projects over the winter, right? Everyone's building their car over the winter. I guess I am too, right? Maybe a couple of them, really. Okay, so pull timing there, edit timing there. Put in my log again. Come on. Alright, so let's flash this bitch. Alright. Any questions I can answer by anybody? Remember, if you got questions, shoot them up. Need an 8mm spacer in the front, the paint on the wheel. Nice. That's a big fucking spacer. 8mm. You should be doing longer studs. You should be doing 8mm. That's a lot of thread to lose off the lug nut, the wheel studs. Or just get fitting wheels, right? And that's the biggest thing. Just get fitting wheels. What else do I want to tell you guys about? Go to Ohio. I'm going to tune the twin turbo Nova. I'm excited about that. That's going to be awesome. You know, I love standalones. I love it when I say do this and then it does that. That's really good. I definitely prefer that. Whenever it's dirty. Bradley asks, how often you should clean the intercooler? Whenever it's dirty. Let's be honest. I don't know. If you live on a dirt road and you drive 10,000 miles, it could be fucking packed. But you live in town and there's no dirt anywhere, you could probably go 100,000. You know, kind of thing. So I couldn't tell you how often you should clean it. You should check it. Washing your car, doing your stuff, see how dirty it is. Same for the AC condenser and radiator. What's up, Nick? AC condenser and radiator, they get gummed up really bad too with bugs and that kind of shit. And if the air conditioner condenser gets clogged up and it blocks airflow to the radiator, then you're not getting cooling flow to the radiator. So it's definitely one of those things you need to take care of. I did the same thing with my Corvette. I did the cam, took the air condenser and radiator out, and they were full of shit inside. I think I only had 42,000 miles in it. So they only had 40-some thousand miles on it. It was dirty as shit. And so I cleaned that out big time. And man, my average coolant temperature dropped dramatically. And the speed at which the temperature dropped after sitting in traffic dropped, or maybe increased dramatically. So it helped a ton. Like I said, they only had 40-some thousand miles on it. My RS used to overheat like crazy. And I put a brand new AC condenser in it because the other one was just so gummed up and clogged and had bent fins and shit, and my RS stopped overheating. So it should not be neglected, but it should also not be done incorrectly, because if you just blast with a pressure washer without paying attention to the angle that you're shooting it with, or that you're too close and you fold the fins over, then you're going to damage the shit out of it. And obviously you don't want to blast the paint off it either, because the paint protects it from road salts and grimes and things like that. So it's yeah, just one of those things. I can't tell you how often it needs to be. It just depends on how dirty your environment is. Out here, all the cars in the parking lot are covered in dirt, and that's kind of what happens. Oh, that sucks, Nick. 10 psi down, huh? I mean, if it's just your ring's not seating, that's one thing. If it's that cam getting louder on that side because you're starting to wipe a bucket or a load, then that sucks ass. At least taking a valve cover off is relatively easy. If you take the valve cover off, you can hopefully inspect the cam and bucket and see what's going on. It's pretty obvious when that stuff happens. Oh, really? 120 and 110? Huh. Well, don't forget, the intake is what establishes tone more than the exhaust note or exhaust valve, because the intake dictates how much air and fuel gets into the cylinder, and the intake lobes and the way the cam valves open up and the shape of the port dictates how much swirl or tumble you're going to have, and that's going to dictate how much atomization you have, which is going to dictate how fast the burn is and how appropriate your ignition timing is for that, you know, for that mixture and all that kind of stuff. And that's going to affect the exhaust note way more than just changing how much the exhaust valve opens or closes. So I would not let the exhaust note make you think that it's an exhaust-related issue, because that exhaust note comes from combustion, and combustion isn't part of the exhaust as far as the way it charges and burns and everything. So do not ignore the intake side just because the exhaust note sounds different. Yeah. Is it not flashing yet? Oh, it is. Reflash successful. Would you like to replace the map on the access port? Yes. Yes, I would. Bloop. How's my uncle? Is it sexy or what? Yeah, I want 2110. That's kind of a bummer. Sounds like an unequal length header. Sounds like somebody needed my cam lobe treatment or the forced oiling treatment, which I don't have on the website, which I could. It only works on Guilford cams, but I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming, right? There's tons of reasons why you could have what you have. It's just not very likely it's a bunch of the other ones. I'm on. Sensor just warmed up. There's no corrections occurring yet. It's just reaching its temperature. I'm on the night. I want to verify my timing is still good, and then do a leak down on Solid 4 to see if we can hear where it's leaking. Yeah. Also, no, though, it's not just leaking, it's how well it gets in there, too. So if you have something restricting air getting in, then that can cause it. Now, cam profile, as far as what happens at peak, isn't really going to affect it much because you crank it so slow, it's not going to matter that the valve opens half a millimeter less than the other ones. It's only going to affect it if it's duration or timing. So with that in mind, it's not likely a cam lobe issue. So, I mean, some comfort in that, I guess, right? Ooh, it's hot in here. I never run the freaking AC in these cars because I'm not a dick. Alright, how much is it going to knock this time? I pulled timing out the key knock areas. I added some where it needed it. Is she going to fight back, like always? Looking better. Looking better. Let's see how the time is. 5200 every fucking time. 5200, same exact thing happens every freaking time. Even with less timing. Even with less timing. But power curve looks a little better. Please change cameras. These people can stop looking at my ugly mug. I mean, my sexy mug. Just play with them, man. Let's get rid of the old ramp, the old run. Bring up this last one. Zoom in. There we go. The plateau is almost gone. Brought some more up in that area where it needed it. Carries a little better. A little smoother through the whole power range. That's really close. It's really close. 292, that's actually a lot of freaking power for this dyno. For an FA. That means that really I could lower the timing in the mid-range. Probably drop the peak power a smidge because peak power happens a little early there, 54 or 55-ish. Lower the torque a little bit, but that would increase the reliability and reduce the chance of it knocking. Considering peak torque is happening after the car is pulling timing at 5200, it kind of tells me that I could definitely pull a little timing out of there and I'd be pretty happy. Torque's really flat though, until 55. So that's something to think about right there. What could I do? Do I deliver the car like this? And it's an FA. It's going to knock. Like how I deliver it? I just identified that the mid-range is really fat for what this engine normally does on this dyno. And if I have a mid-range that's that fat, I can get away with pulling a degree of timing and get minimal losses, maybe lose 10 or so in the mid-range. Increase reliability, reduce the chance of it knocking around 5200. All those things are really appealing, right? But people want those numbers, man. They want those dyno numbers. I want 300 wheel. I want 350 wheel on my stock turbo FA. I want a 370 horsepower turbo to make 350 horsepower at the wheels because that doesn't defy physics at all. Yeah. So I think that's where tuners differ on this. I think that's where you get a little more what you pay for. I can leave that in. It could knock. It may never fail. But it might. And if I am losing a few foot-pounds through the mid-range for the sake of gaining a lot of reliability, I think for me, I would lose the few foot-pounds. But then you could take this dyno, any other tuner could this dyno, add some timing to it, turn off the knock control on the exact same dyno if they wanted, and make another 10 to 15 wheel over that tune and go, see, Dom sucks. And then that car could fail, maybe, or maybe not. Likely. So it's kind of a shitty spot to be in. And if this was an EJ, I would absolutely pull a bunch of timing out of it and add as much safety factor as I can, because they just don't survive on stock pistons and top mount intercoolers. They like to just go a lot. So that hidden power that James was talking about here is hidden in reliability. Like, oh, I found more power in here by making the engine last 50,000 miles less or closer to failing at any fucking second. So that's a tough one. That's a tough decision. I think for me, the answer is, like I said, for an EJ is absolutely pull timing. For this one, I'm going to pull timing anyways. See how much it affects it. See if I can get any relief in that 5,200 RPM region. If I pull like 2 degrees and it still does the exact same thing, I'm putting it back in because it isn't real at that point. It's just the FA picking up noises and shit because that's what FAs fucking do. If I pull a degree or so and it goes away, then it's staying out. Plain and simple. But I've already pulled like 3 or 4 degrees out of it and it does it the exact same time for the exact same amount. So that's kind of a, it's a bit of a shitty FA20ism. I got some text messages coming in here. Good. Working. Good otherwise. What you doing? What you doing? There we go. That doesn't sound ignorant or anything, I swear. All right. Seattle Seahawks announced today that if you want to go to a Seahawks game, you have to be vaccinated or have a negative COVID test within 72 hours of the game. And then you got to go online to this fucking website now that specializes in giving you a temporary COVID pass for events that require this little scanner things. You put your information, and they give you this pass and stuff. Not fucking happy. Not happy because they immediately devalued my product. Their product that I sell, right? I have the Seahawks season tickets for the Seahawks, and since I don't live in Seattle anymore, I live 4-6 hours away based on traffic. I sell most of my tickets. I go to a couple games, but I sell most of the tickets. Well, the problem is a lot of football fans are not people that want to get vaccinated right now. They want to give that shit time and see what the hell's going on. I don't blame them at all. Considering all the problems that women are having and men who are otherwise healthy having heart attacks and everything else, I don't fault them at all. But unfortunately, they're making it a requirement to get into an NFL game now. That's really a bummer. So right now I'm pulling timing out of the mid-range here. They also said that they're declining to give people refunds on their tickets. They're like, too bad, so sad, this is the new policy. You just got to suck it up. So they've devalued my tickets to where I probably won't be able to sell hardly any of them. And they're just directly costing me money with their bullshit. It's a bummer. Total bummer. So that will be another set of tickets available next year because I will not renew. I will not be part of that organization anymore. They already have enough problem treating their players like shit. And now they're just showing how much they're just in it for the money. So, and obviously it's a business. They're all in it for the money. I'm not going to be in denial about that. But it's all bullshit. So that sucks. That sucks. I'm going to lose a lot of money on that. Thousands of dollars. It's really irritating. Hello. What did, so Nick asked, haven't folded FAs at all. How's the bolt on E85 FA compared to an STI? About the same. About the same. People want to tell you one does way better than the other. They're really fucking close. The STI is easier to make power on by far. The FA is a finicky bitch. But they're overall pretty similar. The FA will fold a rod long before an EJ folds a rod. And FAs do it all the time. They fold a rod, break a piston skirt, split a rocker arm, break a valve spring, all kinds of shit that EJs don't do. But at least they don't break a piston. The FA24 in their hand seems pretty fucking cool. I'm going to show you that one. Alright, so I pulled a ton of timing out of the mid-range. Pulled a couple degrees, actually. And the mid-range suffered for it. It dropped quite a bit. But I'm going to show you the difference in the power curves. No knock at all on it. No knock at all. Power curve difference is pretty dramatic. Okay, lost some power. That's a given, right? I pulled a bunch of timing out. We lost some power. But I also knocked the boost down a teeny bit through here. So timing and boost, reduced the mid-range some. Lost like 20 pounds of torque right here. But the power carries a lot better on the top end too, though. Look at this. without the knock happening, the curve. I don't know. Which one do you want? Let's do that. Which one? If you were given this curve, would you go solely by the numbers? Come on. Okay. Jesus Christ. Here we go. Hey, now it works. Okay. You want this power curve? Complete with dyno glitch? You see how much smoother it goes almost all the red line? Very nice. Peak power is a little later, about 5,800 RPM. Or do you want the other one? Whoopsie. Come on, fingers. I almost never use this trackpad. It is dirty. It doesn't work. Or you want this one? It's peakier, but falls on its face a lot harder towards red line. Which one do you want? So I'll be honest with you. I'm giving him this one. That's the one he's getting. Yeah, it made a few less horsepower, but it didn't knock. Where it knocked like crazy before. Power carries better towards red line. That's going to feel better. You know, there's fast and there's fast feeling. They're not always the same. There are things you can do to a tune to make it feel faster than it is. You can have a big rush of boost and torque in the mid-range that really sets you back for a second, but then just eases its way to red line. You're like, okay. But that little burst feels fast and it feels fun. And it's not necessarily faster. You know, then you have ones that pull smoothly all the way to red line. And that can feel fast too. But sometimes the mid-range is so weak and neglected that it's not faster. So it I'd say the ideal is a blend between the two of them, right? You get that rush, you get torque to get moving, but you also want that top end horsepower so your gears become effective. If I got a short shift at 5,400 because my peak torque or my peak horsepower is there and it falls on its face afterwards, but then I'm falling out of power behind it, that's not faster, right? If I have a power curve that is more matched to my gear ratio so that I'm always in power, well then that's faster. So unfortunately, sometimes I've had some customers go, oh, it feels slower. But I did almost a second faster than a quarter mile. And they're blown away by that. And it has to do with symmetry and balance, you know, a little bit of a symbiotic relationship between the engine and the transmission and the whole setup and everything. And personally, I try to achieve that with my tuning. I don't try to just be like, all right, I'm giving you everything it has all the time. Because right now, technically, I could add a fuck whack a boost to it and make a huge fat mid-range, but then it's going to be so heat soaked, the intercooler is going to be burning hot, the engine's going to have tons of heat in it, it's going to fall like a rock over 5,000 RPM. And if this thing had a really super close gear ratio, you know, gearbox in it, something really tight, you could get away with that, but it doesn't. These things are not close geared. And if I have all the power down low and nothing up top, then it's not going to be fast. It's just not going to be. It's going to have a little bit of a rush initially, but it's not going to get you there quickly in the end. So that's what he's getting. And on this dyno, 285 is really good. And 285 without knock on an FA on this dyno is even better. That's acceptable for sure. I'll show you the log too, in case you're wondering. Is it really no knock? Back up. So beginning of the run, 2,600. Addition timing. Timing itself goes all the way negative. I pulled so much out, we're going negative now. Through the 3,000 RPM range. Comes up 4,052 now. We're at 2.5. It was knocking around 4, so we're at 2.5 to 3 degrees. Moves up and it ramps quickly at the end to try and get the horsepower up. And there we go. That's the end. There's no knock. Intake air temps are actually a little bit cooler than the last pull, interestingly enough, because I lowered that mid-range boost. Only a few degrees, but a little bit. They started higher, too. They started higher and ended cooler, so that's an excellent benefit of that. I reduced the full escape duty cycle a little bit through the bottom, and laptop's going. A little bit of a standby mode there. Actually, a little dip and boost right here. Oh no, that's just the way these things fucking read. It's easy better map smoothing for sure. So, in the end, I got a car that knocks less, makes way more top end horsepower, feels way better, and really all we did to the car was, well, we didn't do it, the owner did. He put new plugs in it and Walnut blasted it. But it had 75,000 miles on it and had never been blasted and never had the plugs replaced. And on an EJ, with having stock plugs at 75 is a no-no. Definitely a no-no on an FA that's been modified, and definitely a no-no to not be Walnut plastic. These things build up bad. They build up a lot of carbon build back the valves really bad. So, so definitely do that. If you got an FA, every 50,000, have it Walnut blasted. So tomorrow's next gen Ditterix STI Nessa. Well, they had the teaser 2 weeks ago, or whatever it was, right? Where they showed it go flying by, and it looks like it might have some pretty good lines to it. A lot more power from what the training has been for the dealership techs, and that's going to be great. I look forward to that. James mentions the Fast and Furious paradox. I never even had boost. Yes, that's right. Didn't I make a video about the Fast and Furious paradox? I think I did. I think that's probably why you're mentioning that. That's pretty clever. I'll take smooth and reliable and safe. I'm with you, Sean. I appreciate that. But I think fuel quality issue. I mean, I'm trying to think how to answer this strategically. It's always a fuel quality issue. It's an EJ or it's an FA. They got fucked up geometry, plain and simple. They do not have good engine geometry. And because of that, it is always a fuel quality issue because the knock threshold is way too close to the operating conditions with normal pump gas. Absolutely a fuel quality issue. But you could also call that an engine quality issue too. But they built it wrong. But unfortunately, it's a front engine horizontally opposed car, and front engines have to fit between the front tires, and front tires turn, which makes the engine narrower, which makes the rods shorter, which makes the rod ratio shittier, which makes a bunch of other things happen that, you know, are less than ideal. So, is it a fuel quality issue? Yes and no. Better fuel quality would absolutely yield better results, but that goes for almost every high-performance engine out there. Is it an engine quality issue? Absolutely, because it's still a horizontally opposed engine between two tires that have to turn, and all of that. If you could do one of these engines, I mean, fuck, if you take an EJ, the EJ has pretty good heads overall. If you could take the EJ and increase the deck like 10 to 20 millimeters, or even more than that, 30 millimeters, raise the stroke, get the stroke closer to the bore, not even like next to it, but, you know, a little closer to the bore, get a longer rod in there as well, get a more ideal rod ratio, that engine would be trans-fucking-formed. You'd be amazed at how much better that engine would run with more standard geometry on each bank. It would be an absolute pleasure to tune, absolute pleasure to drive. It would spool turbos way faster. Even if I narrowed the bore down and kept the exact same 2.5 liter displacement, it would spool turbos quicker, it had more torque, it gave better fuel economy, it would burn cleaner. It would be a better engine overall in every way. And part of that really makes me want to build an engine with a big, long deck, just the way she wants it, and just the way I want it, and just the way all of you want it, right? We just want the long, tall deck, not long deck, tall deck, long rod. Speaking of Subarus, big deck energy, yeah, right? I think that thing has a Subaru swap in it, if I recall correctly. Anyways, fixing the geometry in this engine, in the EJ, any one of them, and the performance would go up dramatically. And so, with that, I say, I have a design for a tall deck EJ, and I figured out fucking almost everything to make it happen. And surprisingly enough, the one I did would actually fit between the frame rails, just barely, but you couldn't change spark plugs on it. The things that didn't fit were the timing covers, because it's wider, and the timing belt. And I tried to ask Gates if they'd make me a custom length timing belt. They said, yeah, if you buy 20,000 of them. I'm not fucking doing that. So then you have to figure out, is there available length in the belt that I could steal from somewhere? Can I move some of the idlers up and get a little more? The problem with that is then I have less wrap around the gears, around the crankshaft, around the cam gears, and that kind of stuff, which then reduces the effectiveness or increases the chance of skipping, or by having less tooth engagement on the belts, that means you're more likely to shear teeth off and that kind of stuff. So I have to do like a chain conversion with a custom chain, and then I gotta figure out how to enclose the chain and lubricate it, and it just became this whole fucking ordeal. So I haven't figured out how to make the time belt work, and I really wish I could. Part of me considered doing 2 timing belts, 2 shorter ones, and lengthening the gear on the crankshaft, and having 2 timing belts, or 3 potentially, having one fed off of a slave that then drives the other belt, and using much smaller M8 timing belts, because they make the M8 timing belt or 8M timing belt in all kinds of sizes, really, a lot smaller sizes down to like this big and that kind of stuff. So let's see, how does the square setup of the FA over EJ over square set compare? The problem is that you can't compare them. I just totaled this car. Damn it, just totaled it. I farted. Better call the insurance company. Who's he have? He's got farmers. He's fucked. They haven't seen this thing or two, or this number 2. I just left in the seat. All right, and fart jokes. Okay, so you can't really compare the FA and the EJ. You can't compare them because there's so many other things that are different about it. The valve angle is different. The combustion chamber volume is different. One's direct injected, one's port injected. The burner length is different. The turbo's low mounted. Like this, there's only similarity between the 2 engines is that it's a horizontally opposed 4-cylinder. The rods are shorter. The stroke is longer. The bore is smaller. Everything is different, and you can't compare them and say that, oh, it's a square stroke, right? You can't do that. So that's a question I can't answer, and nobody really can. And if they try to answer that, they're fucking liars. We know that being over square is okay. Over square is okay. F1 engines are often very over square, but they turn 19,000 plus RPM. Almost every Chevy engine from 98 and up has been over square. I think only the 5.3 is not. I gotta double check the 5.3. No, 5.3 is, I forget. I think it's really close to being square. I forget the bore is on a 5.3. So most engines are close to over square, in the market that we're in. Hondas are almost all under square. The longer, higher duration or higher mileage engines like the Toyotas and Hondas have, almost all of them are under square. Diesels are obviously almost always under square. Things like that. But over square is great for RPM. You can make your ports flow better with a larger bore and that kind of stuff. The problem with the EJ isn't that it's over square. It's one that it's so over square, combined with such bad rod to stroke ratios. I have this big over square engine, and that means I gotta light the burn off earlier. But then I also have this rod to stroke ratio that moves the piston through TDC at a much faster rate than a normal geometry engine would. And so then I have another requirement to light it off earlier, right? So I have these two factors that are dramatically increasing the ignition requirement of the engine. And when I'm compressing and expanding mixture, as the piston's moving up and I've already got that thing burning, now I'm adding all that heat I talked about at the beginning of the video into the combustion chamber, the pistons, the chambers, or the cylinders, the valves, and all that. So I got all that heat in there more, and I therefore make my knock threshold even closer again. So now I have all these things that cause me to have a close knock threshold, and all these things that also have this requirement to have the engine very advanced to make any power. And those two combined, three combined, make an engine called the EJ that has got a lot of flaws, you know, something that knocks super easy. And then you combine that with a piston that's very brittle. Now, I got to specify something here. A lot of people think EJ pistons are shit. They're not fucking shit. The EJ pistons are the same pistons that pretty much everybody else in the whole fucking industry uses, right? The problem isn't the pistons. The problem is the environment that the pistons are subject to. The other engines in the world, they don't have ringland failure issues like the EJ does. They don't have it, not because they're in pistons. They don't have it because they have a better environment for those pistons. So that's an important distinction to make. People are like, oh, the EJ pistons are garbage. They're really not. They're really good. The problem is that they're asked to do things that no other piston in the industry is asked to do, and that no piston industry should be asked to do. Well, I got a crap. I tell everybody on YouTube. So, anyways, I just want to make that distinction that the pistons aren't necessarily shit. It's that they're asked to do things that no piston should be asked to do, and that is put up with knock. And there isn't an engine in the world that would put up with that. So, anyways, I think that concludes the stream for today. It's just how I gotta use the bathroom, anyways. And I think I've covered all the things I wanted to cover, and I think I answered all the questions that were asked. Oh, EG33s, no, EG33 is a 75 millimeter stroke. It is literally an EG22 with 2 more cylinders. That's how it was designed. No, there is no relation. There is no similarities. There is nothing about an equal length header that is going to address what the cooling mod kit addresses. A lot of people, for some reason, think that they're related because there's a bunch of bullshit on the internet about it. They're not related at all. They don't even address the same thing. So no, they're not related. They're not required. They're not. No. The answer is no. So one of them is about airflow and air balance. One of them is about coolant flow and hot spots. Is it open? So that's the deal with that. So no, it is not required to do it with, because they're not even related. Hello. How's it going? All right, so I think that's all the questions. I'm going to call it quits now. Have yourselves a good day, and I'll see you on the next one.